celestial conflicts, galacta battles, a poor man's Spaceballs. Whatever you call it, there's no denying that Star Wars is one of the most popular movie sagas of all time, spawning an ever-growing mass of spin-offs, TV shows, comics, novels, action figures, merchandise, wild internet theories, racy fan fictions, and of course, video games. Yet, despite the vast number of gaming tie-ins, finding a good Star Wars title to play can be as difficult as finding a reputable bar in Mos Eisley. So, as we pray that the audience reception of the imminent Jedi Fallen Order doesn't go the way of Connect Star Wars or Episode 8, we thought we'd take a journey through some of the top quality games that did this epic universe justice. Now, doubtless we will one day release one of our humongous lists featuring every single Star Wars game ranked from worst to best, so we want to be very clear here that we're not explicitly picking the best of all time right now, alright? Gotta make that abundantly clear, or else the comment section might burn down in a horrifically violent trade dispute. Oh, I've got a bad feeling about this. I'm Padawan Peter from TripleJump, and here are 10 awesome Star Wars games to play after Jedi Fallen Order. Number 10, Star Wars Republic Commando. Hang on, a Star Wars game where you're not a Jedi? Well, yub nub. I'm all about this representation. Not everyone is lucky enough to be born as a Force-sensitive space wizard, am I right? Republic Commando, released in 2005, has you playing as a regular Republic trooper fighting in the Clone Wars, and plays out like the Star Wars equivalent of a Vietnam movie. Even on your first dropship, a fellow passenger gets kidnapped by a native Geonosian bug boy. Oh, okay, we'll catch up later. Yep, see you later, Dave. And far from being an ill-fitting FPS, this gritty tactical squad shooter had a wonderful sense of authenticity, with visual and audio design that was superb. From blasters to droids, everything sounded fantastic. Brilliant voice acting enhanced the chemistry between members of Delta Squad, and it was even the first official Star Wars game to have its own custom licensed soundtrack. Hell, even the contextual HUD works splendidly well. Yeah, it does limit your vision quite badly, but that's part of what makes it so immersive, to be honest. We now finally understand why stormtroopers couldn't hit a barn door with a banjo. And that ending, oh boy. All we're saying is LucasArts needs to reform their development studio to finally give us some closure on that cliffhanger, damn it. And then, maybe make another Monkey Island game while they're at it. Number 9, LEGO Star Wars: The Complete Saga. These days, you can't move for LEGO games. It feels like every notable film franchise has been given the bumpy brick treatment in the last 15 years. But when the series' debut, LEGO Star Wars, emerged in 2005, its whimsical take on the age-old tale was a revelation. The original LEGO Star Wars and then its sequel replicated the story beats of both trilogies respectively in a refreshingly comical way, with the lack of proper voice acting only adding to the trademark quirky humour. Darth Vader's genius reveal of the Episode 5 twist through the medium of old holiday photos, Luke's rather unceremonious treatment of his redeemed father's corpse, and irrefutable proof that Han shot first. Hang on, slow that footage. Slower. There. See? Even Jar Jar Binks, despite looking like the artist forgot to give him any skin detail at all, is almost bearable in LEGO form. Hey, we said almost bearable, don't touch me! Much like the story, the gameplay itself was simply a lot of fun. No complex systems, just pick up and start force jumping, lightsaber waggling, and brick building to your blocky heart's content. With dozens upon dozens of characters to choose from, each with their own puzzle-solving abilities or combat specialities, the game was immensely replayable, and we can't wait for next year's 9-episode version, LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. Number 8, Star Wars TIE Fighter. Amongst all the shameful rebel propaganda and, let's be honest with ourselves, acts of terrorism, it's refreshing to see a story told from the side that honestly just wants to bring peace and order to the galaxy. This revolutionary space flight simulator meets dogfighter was the very first game in the Star Wars franchise that let you play as the quote-unquote bad guys, if you believe that rebel nonsense. Star Wars TIE Fighter, the sequel to 1993's Star Wars X-Wing, setting was mind-blowing at the time, a technical marvel from the days when Lucasfilm and LucasArts had to do what they could with what they had. Forget CGI, sometimes all you need is a cleverly angled mirror strapped to the wheels of your land speeder. Sure, the graphics look a bit dated now, but the gameplay has certainly stood the test of time. Maneuvering these ships was far from simple, with a deep control system that ensured only fully licensed pilots could master the range of advanced ships, including fighters, bombers, interceptors, gunboats, and the hardest of all ties, dicky bows. With the constant wailing of Imperial engines, the excellent story cutscenes that furthered the party line of putting down terrorist rebellions, and even an intro crawl chastising spies and traitors that oppose Imperial law and order, TIE Fighter was truly a change from the galaxy-liberating video game norm. Thank the Emperor we're on the winning side of history. Hey guys, what do you mean they blew it up? Number 7, Star Wars: The Old Republic. An MMO is always pitched as the opportunity to explore a vast world rich in story with all your friends. However, the reality is usually quite underwhelming, where you instead spend weeks tediously grinding in order to achieve that promised power fantasy, only to realize that there are thousands more chosen ones playing on the same server as you, and you're not special in the slightest. Oh, RuneScape, how could you do this to me? This, however, is where the Old Republic shines, putting added emphasis on an epic story set thousands of years before the films, where you're actually supposed to be only a small part of the greater narrative. Each class has their own story progression to match their role in the universe. For example, a smuggler won't be treated like the second coming of Force Jesus. And when tackling questlines with friends, these unique roles allow each party member a chance to respond to dialogue, making it feel more like a group activity. There are still your usual MMO trappings, like the grindy fetch quests or wooden combat that can't match a single-player title, but this game has evolved significantly since a rocky release, with plenty of incredible tales to be told in that universe of space magic and walking carpets. Number 6, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Now this is pod racing. You say what you want about Episode 1 and its midichlorian-filled Jar Jar Binks having absurdity, but I like it. There, I said it! Sure, most people think it's one of the worst films in the entire franchise, but hey, trade disputes aside, you at least have to give me that the pod racing scenes were pure brilliance. Everyone who saw this film back in 1999 wanted to jump straight into one of those rickety junk chariots and race through tight canyons at eye-blisteringly quick speeds, and thankfully, LucasArts had us covered, with Star Wars Episode 1 Racer released on the N64, Dreamcast, and PC. This incredible high-octane racing game made Wipeout and F-Zero look like go-karting for seniors. You could play as any number of your favourite pod racing superstars too, including Dud Bolt, Oldar Beedo, Ark Bumpy Roos, the delicious-sounding Juan Sandage, Bowles Roar, who is a Sneevil from the planet Sneeve, by the way, or the true hero of the galaxy, Ben Quadraneros. There was nothing sweeter than choosing an underdog and mugging off Sebulba, or just sending Anakin into a wall at stupid miles per hour. A comprehensive vehicle upgrade system, along with a generous variety of planets to drive dangerously through, meant you'd be playing this for hours on end, although the pretty ridiculous difficulty might have also contributed to that. Number 5, Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds and Star Wars Empire at War. Wow, it's a wildcard double whammy, always two there are! Star Wars is the perfect setting for a grand RTS romp, what with all the important battles in the films and more recently in the Clone Wars and Rebels TV shows too. I mean, it's literally called Star Wars, so, you know, there's gonna be conflict. However, we simply couldn't pick a favourite from these two standout titles. 2001's Galactic Battlegrounds, very close to my heart, was developed by Ensemble Studios using their landmark Age of Empires engine. Is it obvious? Can you tell? Now, it might essentially be a simple reskin, but that's not a bad thing. Less time learning new mechanics means more time admiring your sweet AT-ATs, fleet of X-Wings, or even the only spawnable via cheats, Simon the Killer Ewok. He shout, he squawk, but most important, he killer Ewok. There are multiple campaigns here spanning both the original and prequel trilogies, with literally hundreds of unique units and heroes at your disposal. Better yet, the game's scenario editor allowed a prolific fan community to create some truly magnificent campaigns of their own. I sunk so many hours into this as a boy. On the other hand though, the 2006 title, Empire at War, absolutely nailed one thing that Galactic Battlegrounds didn't pull off particularly well, that is, space battles. It also featured a superb campaign mode called Galactic Conquest, sounds familiar, where you fought for dominance over a galaxy map of 43 planets, claiming bases and training troops before zooming into real-time battles, Total War style. And last but not least, it obviously looks a whole lot better than Galactic Battlegrounds today, with superbly animated units and a fully controllable camera, as opposed to the isometric point of view of the former. But honestly, choosing between the two is even more difficult than the whole light side dark side conundrum. Why can't we do both? We'll take the slightly overcast side, please. And if you need us, we'll be over here playing 2 RTS games at the same time. Number 4, Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. Lightsabers, eh? Star Wars just wouldn't be the same without these deadly glow sticks and their mysterious Samurai Merlin owners. Many titles have tried to utilize this laser sword, but none have come as close to perfecting the chaotically elegant art of lightsaber duels quite as much as Jedi Academy. For starters, unlike its predecessor, Jedi Outcast, this game doesn't make you wait 3 hours for the good stuff, letting you gleefully slice and dice away from the very moment you touch down. And the intuitive combat system itself made each sparkly dance of death feel natural and fluid. Unlike in some Star Wars games, the saber was an actual physical entity in the world even when you weren't intentionally swinging it, scorching the environment and even other enemies if they walked too close. But even your deliberate attacks weren't your modern style of choreographed lock-on animations either. Each slice, swing, and stab acted independently, making for some magnificent duels and unique playstyles. This majestic combat is why there's still a strong multiplayer and modding community even today, with the wonderful Movie Battles 2 mod adding new classes, further combat tweaks, and of course, as the Movie Battles name suggests, them battles what was in the movies. There's so much more to Jedi Academy than its saber combat as well, like RPG elements, customizable force powers, an interesting narrative, and crazy first-person shooting. But above all, this game is the pinnacle of hand-to-hand duels done right. The game is to be re-released on current-gen consoles sometime next year, and I personally will be playing it until my eyeballs fall out. Number 3, Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader. As we mentioned in the RTS entry of this list, short of lopping someone's hand off with a lightsaber, you can't get much more Star Wars than, well, waging war amongst the stars. The aforementioned TIE Fighter title revolutionized the Star Wars flight sim genre at the time, but the Rogue Squadron series absolutely knocked it out of the park and into orbit in terms of pure fun factor, particularly with the 2001 sequel Rogue Leader for the GameCube. Tying up the Empire's stupid metal camels with a snowspeeder on Hoth, popping balloons in Star Wars episode BioShock Infinite, interrupting the Death Star's laser light show bonanza with a bit of routine maintenance work in the trench run. Everything you could ask for is here, presented in a tight package of satisfying aerial dogfights and the sweet symphony of the X-Wing's beautiful what lasers. Sure, EA's Battlefront 1 also depicted a visually stunning take on the Death Star run, but Rogue Leader has aged like a fine galactic wine, and we're not sure anything can top the game's visceral feeling of blasting through a squadron of TIE fighters accompanied by the dulcet tones of Admiral Akbar. RIP. Number 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2 2005. Unless you've been in exile on Dagobah for the last 20 years, we don't need to tell you just how influential the original Battlefront series was. But we're going to anyway, because my word, this was a masterpiece. The mid-2000s was truly the best time to be a Star Wars foot soldier. Not only was there our number 10, Republic Commando, but also Battlefront 1 and 2, giving you a front row seat to watch and get involved in the movie's biggest conflicts, all while trying to avoid getting smushed by an AT-AT's foot. I don't say AT-AT, that's silly. The Imperial and Republic workplace perks included traveling to exotic locations like Tatooine, Naboo, and Hoth, as well as excellent career advancement opportunities to become an actual war hero like Jango Fett, General Grievous, and even Force wielders like Maul, Sidious, and Vader. Or, yes, okay, yeah, one of the rebel terrorists, if you're a traitor. The single-player Rise of the Empire campaign was pretty great, following the 501st Legion's exploits in the Clone Wars, their involvement in Order 66, and subsequent transformation into Stormtroopers, but the real meat of this interstellar sandwich was the Galactic Conquest mode, where you moved troops around the chessboard map of systems, conquering planets for dominance via sizable land battles and vast space conflicts. Ask anyone from a youngling to a powerful Jedi Master, and they'll tell you this game continues to be the premium Star Wars experience when it comes to the Skywalker era. But for an even greater ride, why not take a step back in time to number 1, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic? And breathe. You honestly didn't think we'd sell KOTOR down the river like that, did you? This is one of the greatest RPGs of all time in any universe, not least Star Wars, and the finest product to come from a peak BioWare studio before they left an anthem-shaped pile of vomit all over their legacy. Taking place 4,000 years before the films during the Old Republic era, the story easily stands up to the best of the original trilogy, with unforgettable characters and one of the greatest twists in gaming history. The RPG aspect wasn't too shabby either, to say the least, and at a time where every single game was doing a morality system, this one slotted neatly into the light versus dark narrative, and carried even more weight after that narrative bombshell. Look, we're trying not to spoil anything for this more than 15-year-old game, just in case there's someone out there who doesn't know what happens, but if you haven't played it yet and have even the slightest interest in Star Wars or RPGs, what the hell are you waiting for? Go and play it right now, you lunatic. It's the end of the video. Just play it.
Shall I kill something for you?
Oh, no, it's okay, HK-47. I'm fine now. I think I just need a cup of tea.
Charging weapons just in case. This should be fun.
And that's our list. Some of the finest Star Wars to have ever Star Warsed. Not necessarily ranked in order or even the 10 best, full stop, remember? But, you know, just some select great ones that you should play in the coming weeks when you're done with Fallen Order. If there are any other excellent Star Wars games worth recommending though, please do let us know in the comments below. You can follow myself and TripleJump on Twitter here, and if you want to support the things you enjoy, then check out the rewards on our Patreon. Finally, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. I've been Peter from TripleJump, and thanks for watching.